Recently, the not-so-unknown warrior for masculinity Andrew Tate published a post on Twitter about the practice of manifestation. From his point of view, women think manifesting is real because men buy them stuff. Despite the fact that Tate has been suspiciously long and strongly dependent on lust and sexual debauchery, suspiciously fond of pink clothes, and once said he would sleep with a trans person, I find him entertaining in a good sense. He really loves Jewish people, which is sweet, and also more useful than a destructive creator. And since a large number of men do, in fact, value his opinion highly and constantly listen to him, I find it necessary to explain a few things about why this kind of modern pseudo-masculine view on manifestation practices is mistaken, dangerous, and counterproductive. If the only thing that legitimizes a thesis is money, then Nicki Minaj's opinion on politics should probably carry more weight than that of a political science doctor. Yet it does not, so I will dare to oppose my view to that of the famous lover of masculine disciplinarian lifestyle. Let's start by clarifying what manifestation actually is. Manifestation is a modern practice of working with the mindset and the intersection of New Age spirituality, reinterpretation and adaptation of Hermetic and Kabbalistic doctrines and psychology, in which the main paradigmatic presumption and the most influential principle of the system is the inseparable interdependence of our inner state and our external environment. Its essence lies in tuning and managing your inner world to achieve set goals in the external world. Not only does this logic appear in philosophies and spiritual teachings across all parts of the world and all time periods, be it the ancient Greeks, ancient Egyptians, Abrahamic cultures, and so on, but this mechanism also finds a reflection in secular, more familiar modes of thought. As Crowley wrote, why should you study and practice magic? Because you can't help doing it, and you had better do it well than badly. And do you know the funniest part? The bold fan of trans people can call such New Age practices all the names he wants, but he himself practices them. Andrew Tate, behind the image of a strictly pragmatic and purely rational businessman, hides subtle work with the invisible layers of his own psyche. He once admitted that he uses lucid dreams as a tool to get closer to his goals and described the mechanism in detail. In a lucid dream, he immerses himself in a reality where he is already rich, influential, and free, so that his subconscious gets used to this picture and begins to attract it into daily life. In addition, the Bugatti enjoyer practices mudras in almost every second interview. Hindu, Buddhist, and Masonic ancient gestures of power, connecting body and mind to invisible energy flows. On top of all that, one of the main symbolic attributes forming his visual brand is chess, which is inextricably linked with Freemasonry, as you probably already know. Separately, the figure of the horse also appears, historically having deep esoteric significance, described throughout spiritual history from Pythagoras and Plato to Pappus and Gurdjieff. All of these practices, and especially the work with dreams, are a kind of esoteric spiritual practice of manifesting the fulfillment of one's desires and categorically no different from the tedious affirmations everyone is tired of. His success is obviously not only the result of practical active actions in the material dimension, but also of deep inner alchemy and magic. When modern masculinity gurus, teaching how to be a real man, tell you, just work yourself to exhaustion until you break your forehead and then success will come, that's pure bullshitting. This will not bring you closer to your goal. You will only burn out, push yourself into frustration or depression, and start tormenting yourself. Today, against the backdrop of the obvious crisis of masculinity, young guys are actively sold a surrogate, toxic, destructive pseudo-masculinity. We are taught the myth that all of our problems are supposedly due to insufficient strictness with ourselves, that the only explanation for why we may be dissatisfied with the course of our own lives is excessive softness or laziness. But the truth is that harshness can be not only constructive, but also devilishly destructive. If it is not combined with subtle wisdom and inner spiritual harmony, it turns into an inner executioner, leading not forward to new achievements, but but backward into the quicksand of self-hatred and a loser mindset. This is a trap. A trap supported, you might say, by the Gnostic archons of the material world, if you will. You are told that you must continue banging your head against the walls of the cube of materiality in which you are trapped, while they themselves feed on your energy and make money from you using their own completely spiritual technologies. You play their game by their rules instead of stepping outside this prison of square perception. Of course, manifestation is cringe for girls, so definitely buy access to my private community where I'll teach you copywriting. It's so logical, pragmatic, and so rational. Spiritual wisdom is not heterosexual. Yeah, right? Meaning, Tate himself can do it, but you, ordinary folk, supposedly cannot. I like Tate. He seems to me a rather funny creator, and he is painfully often right about the behavior of modern women. But one must keep in mind that this person conducts media activity primarily for making money rather than anything else. And it's no secret, he does not hide it himself, how important money is as a philosophical value in his life in general. So I ask everyone to bear in mind that the narratives he promotes are in many cases subordinated to this very goal. Not to spread truth, not to help you, but to build a successful business. Of course, manifestation is dumb stuff for modern feminists, so better buy my shitcoin while I teach you copywriting on my website. With this disposition, manifestation coaches take away clients and are no more than competitors to the bold businessmen. But for you, that does not mean there is nothing to learn from them at all. Nevertheless, Tate is a believer and promotes in large part Abrahamic values, as well as the principle of personal responsibility. And Abrahamic religions, like many other exoteric traditions, are largely aimed at the spiritual awakening of consciousness and understanding the influence of one's own spirituality on the world around, awakening from the sleep of the matrix of matter to realize one's spiritual ability to create, while the principle of personal responsibility is also a necessary fundamental condition and an integral aspect of manifestation practice. In many ways, Tate's message about mastery and domination over one's own mind and training one's will is precisely the mechanism of manifestation practices, simply presented by girls in other packaging, but essentially maximally resonant. The problem with manifestation is that without humble submission of one's own will to the will of God, it turns into a deceitful ego game. When there is no higher compelling vocation, sense of duty, and inner awareness of serving the metaphysical principle of universal good, all this quickly turns into self-worship, a futile and spiritually dead devotion to oneself. What at first glance looks like working with desires or attracting success actually becomes the embodiment of the Luciferian principle of egoism. Such people put themselves above all and everything, rewriting reality according to their own whims, without any responsibility before the higher truth. True power lies not in imposing the world according to your own taste, but in correlating your desires with the divine order, being an instrument of the highest, and accepting your vocation as duty. Without this, any manifestation becomes magic aimed only at satisfying one's own ego, rather than creating something truly beautiful and harmonic. Indeed, humans are endowed with the ability to create, and manifestation practices do really work. Otherwise, they wouldn't have attracted so much attention for millennia. Yet true wisdom begins with the fear of God, the true creator and source of knowledge, of justice and goodness, of what is proper and right. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, Proverbs 1:7. However, a truly wise person of the book, applying divinely granted true discernment, can find useful lessons and grains of truth both among manifestation content from girl bloggers and among the militant content of the bold king of gyms and Bugattis. Do not rush to enslave yourself with binding labels, but use everything that is useful while applying rational, conscientious honesty, and valuable knowledge and inspiration will meet you at every step. The simple believe every word, but the prudent consider their steps. Proverbs 14:15. So, good luck in your spiritual work, dumbasses. Peace.